to fight this kind of stuff because it's draining, both emotionally and financially, and to a certain extent physically. So I know you got to pick your battles. I know. Look, there's also a Facebook friend of mine on Facebook, and we talk about, well, we don't really talk about stuff, but let me put it this way. There are people out there that seem to have forgotten that we are still some semblance of a republic. And that to the liberals now, the liberal socialists now, we conservatives lost the last election. Now, let me tell you why that is false. But this is why every liberal will say that I'm nuts and I've lost my mind. No, see, Republicans and conservatives lost their bid to take the White House. We lost that election. We lost our bid to get control of the Senate. So we don't have control of the Senate. However, they think that simply because Barack Obama, you lost the election, get over it. Really? Huh. Well, the other people's representatives in the House of Representatives, which is why the third in line to the throne, as it were, is the Speaker of the House. Not from the Senate, it's from the House. It's third in line for the presidency. Or second in line to the presidency, because you got president, vice president, Speaker of the House. That's how it goes in succession. For a reason, because they're the next people's representative that the people elect directly. Hell, even the president's only elected indirectly, but the House of Representatives, they're all elected directly. Well, the Republicans still have control of that. They didn't lose control of that. Republicans also picked up some governorships across this country, so now there's more Republican governors. I think, what was the last count? There are more Republican governors now than there were before the 2000 election. That's a win. The Democrats failed to turn back the tide from 2011 or 2010 with the largest transfer of power in the history of peaceful mankind. They didn't win back many legislators or on Capitol Hill. Still, state houses across the country are still pretty predominantly run by Republicans. So the only thing they can point to and say that they won is the presidency, but he's not the whole system of government that we have, not even at the federal level. I know, but they would like you to think so. Well, he's the potentate, he's the Messiah, little m, he's a God, little g. He's so wonderful. It is absolutely ridiculous how these people fawn over this president and his wife. He's just so handsome. How he looks has nothing to do with it. And let's face it, we've had some good-looking presidents, and we've had some hideous-looking presidents, and we've had some average-looking presidents. But their looks don't matter. And we've had some presidents where you're like, well, how do people really think he's all that good-looking? Bill Clinton. People did. Women did. They thought Bill was good looking, and you think Obama's good looking. Yeah, Obama's a good look. He is. He's a good looking guy. A little skinny, but he's a good looking guy. Well, he is a little thin. It's probably because his wife won't feed him. And that woman's kind of hippie. And I don't mean, as in 60s flower child. But you look at the kids and Sasha and Malia. Who's the older one? Malia? She's thin like her dad too. She's just a rail. But they didn't. They're not the only ones that won. Now, you could say that if the Democrats kept the White House, the Oval Office, kept the Senate, and gained the House, then you could say, Republicans, you lost on a national level. Get over it. But that's not what happened. It pretty much stayed status quo. I mean, seriously thinking, really, the election across the country at different levels pretty much remained the same. As far as numbers, there was no big change either way. I know in my state there was a big change because we went from two Republicans two Republican males in the House to two Democratic females in the House. Went from two fairly conservative people in the House to two nut job liberals in the House. But we stayed the same with our governorship. Still a liberal Democrats in charge, but even she's governor-elect so far. She has been on the warpath about raising tax. She's not into raising taxes in this state, and she's not into, well, now she can't have an income tax as we passed a constitutional amendment in the state, but she's not looking for a broad-based sales tax either. She's telling agencies that they have to cut. That's not a Democrat. I don't know. She's got something up her sleeve. You just wait and see. We'll keep an eye on her. I know she's got something up her sleeve. But in any event, there was no big win. I know, but they're thinking, yeah, we won. Well, you know what? This is the last I want to hear of people talking about racism. We elected well, we didn't know he was the worst at the time, but we elected a black guy as president. He turned out to be, as far as economics, as far as numbers, historically speaking, all that kind of stuff, he is the worst president our country has ever seen. And he was reelected. The first president to be reelected with real unemployment being over 8%. The first American president being reelected other than FDR when there is a major recession and no economic growth. All indicators are going backwards. I mean, he's the first president to be reelected in spite of every single indicator out there showing the opposite. Just plain and simple. This guy has, I know why some people think that the Democrats stole the presidential election. It's simply because it went against every single indicator that was out there. I mean, we're talking indicators of various kinds that have rarely, if ever, been wrong. They were, it's amazing because all of those indicators were wrong. You know, be they superficial like the Redskin rule, or be they really legitimate and scientific like some of the polls. He defied it all. I'll give him credit for that. But evidently, it just goes to show that our country is not racist. Because they decided to leave this guy to be president. So we're going to have to go through another 4 years of overspending in the White House, his wife and kids taking lavish vacations, the country languishing. It's only going to be 8 years total, but you might as well call it a decade. So Japan has a lost decade. Well, actually, Japan has a lost score. Isn't a score of year 20 years? Yeah, 4 scores, so that would be 80 years. So Japan has a lost score of years, and we've got a lost decade coming up. That's what it's going to be. Plain and simple. We head into the teen years in a couple of weeks, and the teen years will be dominated. Well, the first half of the teen years will be dominated by Barack Hussein Obama. Now, it kind of makes you. Now, I'm not one that wants to speed up the clock, but it kind of makes you want to just hurry up and get through to 2016, doesn't it? I mean, because here it was back in 2008. This time in 2008, I'm thinking, oh man, 2012 is not going to get here fast enough. And then before you know it, here's 2012. And 2012, and we're doing the same damn thing that we did 4 years ago. And now I'm sitting here again thinking, oh my God, I can't wait for the next 4 years to pass by. I might regret that statement. It might come to 2016 that, maybe a Republican president will win the White House, but then maybe we'll lose the House, and then we'll hear the liberals say, "Well, y'all didn't win because y'all didn't win the House. You lost the House and you lost the Senate. You lost. Get over it." I guarantee you that if that's the way it turns out in 2016, that is what you're going to hear from the left. Basically, what they're saying, unless we absolutely, totally annihilate the left, they win. Now, there is some truth to that thought process, but the real truth is that it's a silly notion to think that you can totally and utterly wipe out your opposition. It's not gonna. There's always going to be some jackass that thinks he knows better. So there's always going to be this left-handed left side. Now, there's always going to be a left. Will we be able to put them in their place and control them better? Hopefully, yes. But we're not going to be able to get rid of them because there's always going to be some jackass that thinks he knows better than you how to live your life for you instead of you living it for yourself. There's always going to be some jackass who wants power and he wants to be able to rule over you with rules, regulations, or even possibly becoming a dictator or a thug or a bully or what have you in the halls of power, in the seats of power of various nations. It's always going to be that way because that is the nature of man. You're always going to have somebody who thinks that they know better than you. You're always going to have somebody who likes the ability to be able to tell you what to do. There is always somebody who likes the feeling of power. There's always somebody like that. There will always be somebody like that. Always. Wait for it. Always. Yeah, well, I just don't want people to misunderstand or misconstrue what I'm saying because, again, what is it? Yeah, always. There will always be somebody who is going to... look, we got it now. They all want to get into politics in some way, in some form, some fashion, and they would love it. Many a liberal would love it if they could get into a position of being a regulator or some other kind of bureaucrat that has power because they cannot be checked by the people. They have absolute power. I mean, it's wonderful. This is why so many young people like to be, men especially, like to be cops because of the power that you have no control over. You can't do anything to a cop. At least not while something is going down. They've got all the power, you've got none. You will always have people who like power. So you'll never be able to totally destroy them. However, you can put them in such a position where they're ineffectual. They're seen but not heard from. What's the old saying? Children should be seen and not heard? No. Actually, the truth is that liberal democratic socialists should be seen. They should be put up on a pedestal. We should see them clearly. But no, we should not hear a